Hello, everyone, and welcome in this summer afternoon to our SMARCO event, Building Skills for Future Smart Communities. This will be the launch event of the Smart Communities Skills Partnership under the SMARCO project. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. I know for many it's almost summer, so that counts even double for us. So first of all, I will introduce myself. I am Caterina Bortolaso. I am Senior Project Manager at the European Digital SME Alliance, and I am also the coordinator of SMARCO, Smart Communities Skills Development in Europe project that I will introduce to you shortly. Before that, I will show you the agenda for today, so we can understand and have an overview of the voices that we'll hear in this event. So first of all, as already mentioned, I will introduce the project to all of you. It will be a short introduction just to set the scene. And then I would leave the floor to Sonia De Mello Xavier, Policy Officer at DG EMPL in the European Commission, that will give a keynote speech on skills partnerships as drivers of Europe's skills agenda. So more on the policy side of what European projects and especially Erasmus Plus Blueprint projects can do in this. And after that, our colleague Lina Nardone, Project Manager at European Digital SME Alliance, will introduce the SMARCO Skills Partnership that we are launching today. And I will also give you a presentation of the core output of the project, which is the SMARCO Skills Strategy and this roadmap. And then I will have the chance to discuss this output with 5 speakers that I already thank for being here, and that I will introduce to you later. But already Panos Fitsilis, full professor at the University of Thessaly, Ilpo Laitinen, Director of Administration at the City of Helsinki, and also member of the advisory board of SMARCO, Alessandra Buffa, EU Project Specialist at the Fondazione Piemonte Innova, and also member of the project together with Panos. Owen Costello, also another member of the advisory board of SMARCO and National Program Director at the Dargan Institute, and Oscar Huerta Melchor, I'm apologizing if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, Policy Analyst on Urban Development and Governance at the OECD. So thanks to the distinguished speaker. We'll have the means to listen to them later in the panel. I would go on now with a short presentation of the project for all the attendees to be able to understand what we'll discuss today. So SMARCO, acronym of Smart Community Skills Development in Europe, is a 48 months Erasmus Plus project. It means 4-year project that started in February 2025 and will end in January 2029. But what are the objectives of SMARCO? We can see in the next slide. So SMARCO aims to be a unique stop shop for smart community skills development in Europe. And we'll do that across 3 main aims. First of all, our objective is to develop urgent upskilling courses and forward-looking training programs. These are already available and being piloted at the moment. Then we also grant flexible and user-centric learning through the development of micro-credential training certificates, and also a wider certification scheme that can be adopted also by external stakeholders. And then we would like to guarantee a sustainable community of stakeholders to discuss and scale what we produce in this project also outside of our bubble, but in the real world of education and also of public authorities. So for that, we are creating this Smart Communities Skills partnership that will be in the Pact for Skills, as we cooperate closely with DG EMPL in one of the ecosystem of the Pact for Skills, which is the digital one that we coordinate, and we try to involve as many stakeholders as possible from different categories, including industry, academia, VT, and also local authorities. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So just a quick overview of what are the project partners. We, as Digital SME Alliance, are the project coordinator, but as you see, the partnership is quite differentiated. So there are associations from industries, there is academia, there are VT, there are local authorities, but also foundations or membership organization that represents local authorities. So this is more or less the kind of partnership that we look for also in the digital landscape partnership. So this represents well collaboration among different kinds of stakeholders, and we are very proud of that. Next slide, please. So our final beneficiaries are, in the end, ICT professionals and public administration staff. Why? Because the job profiles that we have identified in our work are those of the smart city engineers and the smart city planner. So these are the roles that we aim to train through the material that we develop in this project. And our target groups are companies, and especially, of course, SMEs, educational institutions, business support organization, and indeed decision makers that will involve through specific roundtables. Next slide, please. So just to give you an overview, the most important project results are the ones that you see in the middle that have been released in May, and now in July. That's what we are doing today. So one is the strategy and blueprint for smart community skills development in Europe that has been published in May 2026, and that you can find in our website, and that I will show to you, in a second. And the Smart Communities Skills Partnership that we will launch together today. Of course, stay tuned, because next year we will also produce the training program package for higher education institution and VT providers, but also this general training certification scheme for smart cities and communities skills. Next slide, please. Okay, so to conclude, these are our objectives. I would say the most important one that we will also discuss later today are the number of ICT professionals that we train, that will be 500, and the number of participants in the Smart Community Skills Partnership that will be at least of 100 organization. And then I will also tell you about the national roundtable workshops that we'll organize in 9 different countries, and the one European workshop that we'll organize with European decision maker. So these are the numbers related to SMARCO. Of course, if you can go to the next slide, I ask you to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. And of course, feel free to visit our website and to contact us via email. After this, I would give the floor, with no further ado, to Sonia de Mello Xavier, Policy Officer at DG EMPL, and working daily on the Pact for Skills and with Erasmus Plus Blueprint project for policy overview of the Union of Skills and other related initiatives. Thank you very much, Sonia.
Thank you very much, Caterina, and good afternoon, everybody. I just want to make this window disappear a little bit. Okay, so I think this is good now. So again, good afternoon. My name is Sonia de Mello Xavier, and I work at the European Commission in the Directorate for Jobs and Skills, in a unit that is responsible for skills for competitiveness. And as Caterina mentioned, I'm working in the team that is responsible for the implementation of the Pact for Skills and also the EU Skills Academies. So today I will walk you through the main policy framework that the European Commission has in place for skills, and where you will see the Pact and other initiatives that are associated to the Pact play a crucial role. The Union of Skills is one of the three major initiatives that were presented by the Commission within the first 100 days, alongside the Competitiveness Compass and the Clean Industrial Deal. They highlight, so the three documents highlight that skills are a key enabler for competitiveness, and they highlight the urgency of addressing skills and labor shortages in the EU. And this is why the Commission proposed a Union of Skills. So the Union of Skills communication sets out an holistic vision and a plan, and it seeks to promote a union of skills at all levels, at all stages of life, no matter how these skills have been acquired, and also without borders, and to ensure that Europe successfully attracts and retains talent. In Europe, we have 60 million low-qualified adults, and also 70% of companies that are reporting that lack of skills affects their decisions for investment. In this slide, you can see the 4 pillars that I mentioned previously of the Union of Skills. So building skills for quality lives and jobs, upskilling and reskilling for the digital and the green transition, circulating skills across the EU for competitiveness, and attracting and retaining talent for Europe's future. So the Pact for Skills plays an important role in the Union of Skills, namely because the Union of Skills calls for the Pact to be strengthened and for it to be streamlined. So the Pact is an initiative that was launched by the previous Commission. It's nearly 6 years old, so it was launched in 2020. as a flagship initiative of the previous strategy to the Union of Skills. And now we count 4,000 organizations committing to reskill 25 million workers by 2030. We have 20 large-scale skills partnerships. One of these partnerships is the digital partnership. We also have 30 regional skills partnerships. This is an area that is very much growing and we want to reinforce because it is crucial that the work being done in the large-scale skills partnerships is then replicated at regional and local level. And we also have 75 partnerships in other areas. In addition to the Pact for Skills that you all know, another initiative that is part of the architecture of the Pact is the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, which will reach 700 pledges for apprenticeships by 2030. The Pact, the Commission believes, is a cost-effective policy framework. So with minimal costs for companies and with substantial benefits, namely on partnership and networking. The Pact equips strategic sectors with essential skills. It provides work for insights and collaborative networks to align capital investments and also with a prepared workforce. And the Pact is the EU's most market responsive tool, which is totally voluntary, commitment-driven platform, which measures industry's readiness to collaborate on upskilling and reskilling. So Pact membership and participation in large-scale skills partnership serve as a key gateway to other EU initiatives. So the key areas of focus for the Pact under the Union of Skills are reinforcing large-scale partnerships, improving initiative linkages, enhancing cross-sectoral synergies, and also upskilling commitments. The large-scale skills partnerships were established, as I said, 5 years ago in the industrial ecosystems of the EU industrial strategy. Now the competitiveness compass, the clean industrial deal, and also the future preparedness strategy have changed the focus to key strategic sectors. So this is, I will show this to you in a next slide, where we have gathered key strategic sectors in 4 clusters. The Pact for Skills is the framework for all EU initiatives and actions for skills development. And we have already started a mapping of these initiatives. So, in fact, synergies could be strengthened with a range of existing EU networks and initiatives, including the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition, the EU Transition Pathways, the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, the Enterprise Europe Network, EU-level SME and entrepreneurship networks, the EU Sectoral Social Dialogue, and the Harnessing Talent platform for regions. There's also growing interest within the Pact for collaborative cross-sectoral work on cross-cutting topics. These topics, they include batteries, energy efficiency, advanced manufacturing, deep technology, water management and hydrogen, amongst other important topics. The current pledge in the Pact is to upskill 25 million people of working age of the Union of Skills that the Union of Skills Strategy encourages pact members to double this level of commitment. So we are encouraging the large-scale skills partnerships to double from 25 million people to 50 million people. In this slide, you have the results of the PACT annual survey that was recently published. 10 million people have benefited from actions under the Pact. 2 billion have been invested. This includes EU funds, but also own funds and funds from other sources. 412,000 stakeholders joined forces. And 142,000 training courses were updated or developed by members of the Pact. In this slide, you see what I mentioned previously. The 4 clusters of focus for the EU. These reflect namely the Commission proposal for competitiveness fund. And in the slide, you can see where existing large-scale skills partnerships, but also regional skills partnerships of the Pact are falling in these priority sectors. So here you have a continuation of the strategic sectors. So this is the structure of the Pact for Skills, with a toolbox of 5 instruments that complement each other to support skills development and to address labor market needs. We have the Blueprint Alliances, which are bringing together stakeholders in key European sectors to identify emerging skills and design targeted training programs. They help implement the Pact for Skills commitments and can facilitate the setup of EU skills academies. The Centers of Vocational Excellence are networks that innovate vocational education and training, so VET systems. They align with the Blueprint Alliances by adapting training to local needs and can support VET business partnerships through technology transfer and practical training. The VET business partnerships, which are an instrument in the new EU budget, the multi-annual financial framework. So these partnerships, co-funded by companies, will help SMEs access skilled workers and new technologies. They build on the Centers of Vocational Excellence by providing shared training infrastructure and technology demonstrations, ensuring VET providers offer up-to-date training. The EU skills academies rapidly deploy targeted learning programs to address urgent skills gaps, and they complement the Blueprint Alliances and Centers of Vocational Excellence by using skills intelligence to design tailored content. And finally, the European University Alliances integrate higher education across Europe, fostering mobility and joint degrees, while primarily focused on universities. They can support the rest of the instruments by aligning research and education with industry needs. The Pact, it should be noted, will also be linked to the EU Skills Observatory, which is a new body that is also being established by the Commission with the aim of gathering sector skills data and intelligence. So joining the Pact in practice, what it means, signing up to the Charter, translate engagement into concrete commitments or pledges, and monitor the implementation of commitments. This is, of course, supported by our support services. I'm pleased to announce that after a very lengthy tendering procedure, we have recently awarded contracts to equities. So those of you who are already members of the Pact know them from the previous support services. So they will continue working with us for an additional 2 years, renewable by 2 more years, helping us implement this reinforced and streamlined Pact for Skills as highlighted in the Union of Skills. So thank you very much. You have our website and contact, and I will also share the PowerPoint with Caterina, so you will surely get it after.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I think that's very needed for people to understand better how the Pact for Skills works, and also how the Union of Skills actually had an impact on the Pact for Skills, and also strengthened it. So thank you very much. And I also remind all the attendants that we'll share all the slides, and also including Sonia's slide. So after the introduction, we are ready to go to the core of this event, that is the launch of the partnership. So I give the floor to Lina for the presentation of the skill partnership.
Thank you so much, Caterina. It's so amazing to see so many people join us today for the launch of SMARCO Skills Partnership. So I will be the person responsible for the management of this new community that we are establishing. For any question, you will find my contact. So we will have, after the event, possibility to chat a bit more, or you will have also the opportunity to schedule a separate meeting or type some question in the Q&A box here. So for any question about the Skills Partnership, you can refer to me. If we can please start with the presentation, so I can start explaining how the partnership we develop, how we develop the partnership, why this partnership has emerged, and guide you through the application process. Yes. So why this skill partnership? As Caterina was saying, she set the stage about what SMARCO is doing and what is the work of our project. But why we found the need to establish a skill partnership? Because Europe, as you know, has very ambitious goals when it comes to the digital and green transition, that you may also know as twin transition. But and across cities and communities, we see that digital technologies are more and more embraced and becoming a cornerstone to build sustainable, resilient, and people-centered cities and communities. But of course, technology alone is not enough, because if we need technology, but we need also the people that can master technology, that so have the knowledge, the competencies, and the skill to design, implement, and manage this solution that can make the future of smart communities. So no single organization can, let's say, succeed in this endeavor alone of address the skills need. So the SMARCO Skills Partnership responds to this challenge, bringing together public authorities, industry organizations, SMEs, education and research actors to anticipate the emerging skills need and prepare the workforce for future challenges in relation to skills for smart communities. We can go to the next slide, please. So, but what are the skills need? I'm sure that you will have the opportunity to deepen more about this in the second part of the event. But just to give you an idea, these were the 5 principal strategic domains where SMARCO skills matches and future need analysis identified competencies area. But to address the skills gap that we see in this strategic domain requires a coordinated action across the entire smart community skills ecosystem. That's why we are now establishing the Smart Community Skills Partnership. If we can go to the next slide, please. And what is this? The Smart Community Skills Partnership is basically the SMARCO community that will bring together all the stakeholders from education, industry, public sector, research, and civil society with the aim of strengthening skill developed for smart community, and particularly smart community skills, and support also the priorities of the large-scale partnership ecosystem that is within the Path for Skills. I won't really touch upon the Path for Skills because I think that Sonia has already given a comprehensive overview of the initiative, but just to let you know that the SMARCO Skills Partnership will operate in the context of the Digital Large-Scale Partnership of the Path for Skills as a thematic working group for smart community skills development. So will be the place within the Digital Large-Scale Partnership of the Path for Skills where smart community skills development is discussed and where you can have the opportunity to engage with other stakeholders, relevant like-minded organizations to exchange best practice and knowledge about smart communities. But let's see together who can join the partnership. The partnership, no, sorry. If we can go to the, yes, thank you. Who can join the partnership? So we welcome higher education institution, VIT providers, research centers, innovation hubs, of course, SMEs, startups, but also large enterprises, industry association, cluster, Chamber of Commerce and public authorities, and municipalities, NGO, and civil society. I mean, this list is not exhaustive. We really welcome every organization that has an interest in smart community skills development or wants to contribute to this. The only, let's say, eligibility criteria that there is to join the partnership is that the organization should be either established in one of the 27 EU member states or in other countries that participate in relevant EU programs. For example, in Erasmus, we have 33, under Erasmus Plus program, we have 33 countries, not on top of the 27. So, for example, you have still Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, but also, for example, Turkey. And we also welcome other candidates, EU candidates countries like Ukraine, Moldova, Bosnia, Herzegovina, etc., or neighboring countries. This is just for us to specify because we saw a lot of interest outside Europe about the project, but we want, and we are really happy about that, but we want just to make clear that the eligibility and the scope of the community is pretty European. But of course, for those organizations that are coming from countries that are outside the continent, we are always open to collaborate outside the community. So we are happy if you still can support SMARCO, like our channels, follow us, and support our work. If we can go to the next slide, please. So why you can join the partnership? Because the access through the partnership gives access to organization to contribute to SMARCO work. So you can, of course, engage on our output. You will be, for example, Caterina was mentioning the strategy that she will introduce later. The strategy will go under several rounds of refinement until the end of the project. So people that, organizations that are part of the community skills partnership will be engaged in the update and refinement of the strategy, for example. But we will also organize events in collaboration with the digital LSP. So we will organize matchmaking events. So this joining the partnership is also an opportunity to meet other people and find other business opportunities, because maybe people in the audience want to do, for example, projects, European funded projects. So it's also an opportunity to find this kind of potential partners for other initiatives and projects. And it's also an opportunity for you to test our results, because SMARCO has now developed some short upskilling courses, but we'll also develop longer-term programs. So will be an opportunity also, all for you to test the work that SMARCO has performed. Of course, the participation to the community is totally free. We don't charge anything. If we can go to the next slide. We have just developed a web page for you to make it easier to interest organization to join us. So I kindly invite every one of you to scan this QR code and join me on the SMARCO website. And in the meantime, if my colleague Ainhoa can maybe display the page, so I can give you a preview. Just 1 second, because we have to switch tools. So this is the SMARCO Community Skills Partnership that is now live on SMARCO website. I know, if you can please go at the bottom, you will find that there is an easy form that you can fill in with your organization details. Before submitting the form, we kindly ask you to read the MOU that you will find at the bottom of the form, linked. And of course, on top of all the actors that I mentioned and types of organization, I forgot to mention that we also welcome related projects or initiatives. So if you are a coordinator of a European initiative or funded project that is similar for interest and scope to SMARCO, we also welcome this kind of entities. So please apply, because we really would like to establish more collaboration also with relevant similar project. So I know we can go back to the presentation, because I want just to give my contact to the audience, because my presentation is ended now because our time is limited. But of course, I'm available for all of you that want to reach out. You can, if you have questions, I will be in the event, so feel free to address me, give me the question on the chat, or reach out to me. You will find my email at the end of this presentation, and I hope to see a lot of you submitting an application to the SMART Community Skill Partnership. Thank you so much. Back to you, Caterina.
Thank you very much, Lina. And indeed, don't be shy. Already try to register your organization to the partnership. You can follow the link, or also I believe we also can share the link in the chat. And of course, don't hesitate to ask any questions today during the live. You can leave it in the chat and it will be addressed by our team. So that said, I would go on with the presentation of our strategy. That is the core output of SMARCO, and that is has been published in May. So I will give you an overview also in order to start after this the panel with our speakers to give a bit of context of what has been our research. So first of all, the scope of the strategies is six-folded. So on one hand, on the first hand, it gives an overview of the skills ecosystem in the area of smart communities, so on skill supply, demand, trends, gaps, and barriers, but also draws some lesson learned from other European initiatives that have already been carried out. And based on this, we identified some needs, priorities, and objectives, but also some policy recommendations. And I think what is particularly useful about these strategies is that we also have an implementation roadmap with short, medium, and long term, and a blueprint that is a shorter version of the strategies that can be it's easier to read and also can be used to disseminate the strategies the strategy with all kind of stakeholders. So next slide, we have, let's say, a bit our Bible. So what is the methodology that we have followed to develop these strategies? Started from step 1 and step 2, that are the skills intelligence and gap analysis and the best practices analysis. This is the work that has been already carried out previously by our consortium. And based on that, we have identified needs, priorities, and objectives, and also created some recommendations for specific stakeholders and the implementation map. What will come after this is a validation and co-creation process through roundtables at the national and European level. So this will create a continuous feedback loop that will take us to the final output. So this strategy will be updated at the end of 2028. And we'll have our final version for the end of the project, where we will also be able to check if we reached some of the objectives that we have identified. Next slide, please. So a little overview of what we found. So on the skill supply side, we found that the framework was still growing in volume and diversity, but was still fragmented. So and also not fully aligned with the demand of the labor market. Some global trends are the shift towards integrated profile, the combination of different kind of skills, so not only technical but also environmental and governance. And concerning the skills gaps, we have found out that basic digital skills and general management skills trainings were widely available, while interdisciplinary and specialized skills provision of training was still scarce. And we decided to work mainly on that. Next slide, please. Then what came out from the best practice selection? You see here what are the local, national, and EU-level initiative, also EU-funded project and international initiatives are the ones that you see in the slide. How did we find them? We applied 4 criteria: the effectiveness in addressing skills gap, the affinity with smart communities objective, the level of multi-level governance and stakeholder involvement, and the complementarity and transferability. So especially at the European level, we have found already several EU-funded projects, but also initiatives like the European Digital Innovation Hubs Network, and also some specific cases of digital innovation hub, but also some international initiatives from UN and also from other from some NGOs. Next slide, please. So from this best practice, we found both some patterns, but also some gaps. I think what we found as patterns and lesson learned are what works on these practices is mainly the multidimensional skills framework, the practice-based learning. This was really identified as a game changer, together with the flexible, modular, and lifelong learning approaches that I have to say most European projects already have. I think what is very important is also the alignment with the strategic policy frameworks. So the ones that work better, there is a specific case of Singapore, for instance, is when the practices are embedded in a wider policy framework. The focus on data-driven governance and decision-making skills. This for sure has been found out in all our research. AI, big data and analytics for public services are essentials. And all of them also have a people-centered and inclusive approach, which is also the definition of smart communities that we decided to adopt. On the other hand, in the next slide, we see some gaps that we have identified from this analysis. So next slide, please. So we also tried with our strategy to work on this. A limited impact measurement. That's why also we have this precise roadmap, an insufficient focus on local public administration capacity, and that's, let's say, the core of the issue. The fragmentation of the initiatives, and this is something that comes back also in the other researches that we've carried out in the project. The limited inclusion of SMEs and local economic actors, and in fact we have SMEs as specific target group in our strategy, and the weak link between skills development and labor market outcomes, which is precisely what we are trying to work on. And the lack of standardized competence framework across Europe. As you have heard before, in SMARCO, we are trying to develop a certification framework that can be adopted by external. So this is one of the challenges that we are facing. Next slide, please. Okay, based on that, we have identified then 4 priorities that corresponds to 4 needs, and for each of them 3 specific objectives. So you see here our need number 1 is of course the alignment between skill supply and evolving demand, development of interdisciplinary and advanced skills profiles, strengthening capacity of key actors such as public administration and SMEs, and improve coordination, availability, flexibility, and policy coherence of the system, also through a certification framework and, let's say, policy frameworks for smart communities. So if you see in the next slide, you see how this is built. So we have all the needs, the priorities, and for each of them, specific objectives, and this makes it also for us a lot easier to monitor the results that we will reach. So this strategy has also inset the possibility to check the evolution of the reaching of the objectives. So next slide, please. So finally, we also wanted an actionable part. So based on the needs and priorities and objectives, we have identified 16 recommendations for 5 stakeholder groups. And I have to say all these recommendations cover the objective. So you can see the link between the recommendations and the objective. The stakeholder groups are policymakers and public administration, education and training providers, industry, and especially SMEs, research and innovation actors and civil society and community. And for each objective, we have identified short-term action, medium-term actions, and long-term actions. For each of these, there is a specific KPI to verify when the objectives are met, which also is something that we would like to include in the update of the strategy that will take place at the end of the project. And above this, there are also 17 overarching systemic KPIs that can monitor if the progress is going in the right direction, but it's more a systematic monitoring. Next slide, please. And these are the next and final step. So, of course, we have produced a blueprint that is a shorter and more user-friendly version of the strategy. This blueprint will be used and has been already used in roundtables at the national level that will involve decision maker. This will be our task for the next year, and one European roundtable. So from this roundtable, we will analyze the feedback, integrate insights into the strategy as many times as we need in order to finalize the strategy by the end of the project at the beginning of 2029. So this is all from the strategy. You can, in the next slide, if you want, download and read it through the QR code. I would recommend you to do that, to go more in depth with the findings that we have discovered. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope this research can be of use for many of you. Now I would go on then with the panel discussion, building skills for smart communities together. So I welcome our speaker, Oscar Huerta Melchor, policy analyst at the OECD, Owen Costello, National Program Director at Dargan Institute, Ilpo Laitinen, Director of Administration at the City of Helsinki, Alessandra Buffa, EU Project Specialist at Fondazione Piemonte Innova, e Panos Fitsilis, full professor at the University of Thessaly. We have here a mix of, let's say, national level, EU level, and international level. I will start with the international level for the first question, and I would go to Oscar. So first of all, welcome, Oscar, and thank you for accepting our invitation. So you've seen, of course, our presentation, so you see how much hybrid skill sets are now the ones that are the most important and required. And of course, you also see that still many gaps remain, especially for the labor market connection. So I wanted to ask you, since recently you also have held the 5th roundtable on smart cities and inclusive growth at the OECD's, do you think the findings aligned, or what are the skills gaps that emerged in that occasion or in other occasion in your work?
Thank you, Caterina, for the invitation to join. Just to answer your question, yes, we had this roundtable on the smart cities and inclusive growth last year, and I can see that there are many. We are very much aligned in the findings of both of your report and the discussions that we had in the roundtable. One of the things that was discussed over there is that cities now need a broad mix of technical, managerial, governance, and civic capability. Something that you mentioned, those more interdisciplinary, something like a broad mix of skills that is needed. In fact, one of the central messages that we got in the roundtable was that the main challenge for cities now is developing the human capacity to govern AI responsibly, rather than just simply deploying AI technologies. Because we was all focused on AI because the topic of the roundtable was AI for advancing smart cities. That was a specific aspect. So therefore, everything was around that part. And one of the strongest messages that we got was that the greatest AI skill shortages for cities is not simply a shortage of AI engineers, but it's a shortage of public sector professionals who can combine AI, data governance, urban policy expertise to deploy AI responsibly in cities. Certainly, there are urgent skill gaps that are there. Some of them had to be, as you can imagine, on advanced AI technical skills, because cities still require specialists in machine learning, mathematics, statistics, cybersecurity, certainly, and AI systems. But what is happening here is that local city public employees need to understand AI capabilities, limitations, risks, and appropriate use, not necessarily to become AI developers. This is what is necessary to keep in mind. So what is also important here is that we saw that it's necessary to upskill the existing municipal or local workforces. Rather than replacing public servants, cities need to equip planners, transport engineers, housing officials, people working in social workers and other municipal staff to use AI effectively. And we saw, for example, the experiences of Canada, the UK, and Singapore, where they have large-scale AI training programs for public servants that have now become a priority for those countries. Other skills that are needed, that are key for cities, is that to work on data governance and data engineering. Cities require professionals capable of collecting, curating, integrating, protecting, and sharing data, because this has an impact on the models that we will get, and on the quality of the decisions, and also could trigger cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Also, cities need to work, I would say, on AI governance, ethics, and regulatory expertise. Perhaps this is the area where this is fastest growing capability gap, in most of the OECD cities, because it's the ability to govern AI responsibly. That's very, very much important. Cities need the expertise in AI regulation, ethics, privacy, transparency, auditing, and compliance with legislation such as the EU Act on AI. So moving from technical skills to AI governance skills, this is necessary. This is perhaps one of the biggest challenges. That is not to develop algorithms, but to ensure that they are trustworthy, transparent, and accountable. So this is another area where cities need to work. And also, and very much in line with what you were just presenting some minutes ago, it's necessary to develop this domain expertise combined with AI. What I mean is that AI doesn't need to replace public sector specialists. Instead, all those transport planners, housing experts, and environmental scientists working in cities, and public safety professionals need to combine their domain knowledge with AI tools. So, and also this leads us to the need to build in interdisciplinary teams, because successful cities are those that combine AI specialists with urban practitioners. For this is what cities like in Rotterdam, Montreal, or Seoul in Korea are doing. And their experience demonstrates that AI succeeds when technical experts collaborate closely with planners, operational departments, and city managers. So in a nutshell, this is what I can tell you from that. And just 2 points. One is the need to also retrain to work on citizen AI literacy. That is critical. And the interdisciplinary collaboration. I think those are areas that cities need to work on.
Yes, thank you very much, Oscar. I think we all agree, and I'm glad that you brought this up. It's something that came out strongly also of our research, and I think also on AI adoption, there are also other risks that require quite deep literacy, and I believe we also will talk about that in this panel. I would like to turn to Panos. Of course, if you have any comment on this, but especially my questions will be around the European projects and best practices, since you have worked on quite some European projects in the smart community skills development. What makes for you an initiative successful?
Thank you, Katerina, for your question. Actually, this is a difficult question because there are hundreds of projects, initiatives, and it's difficult to select. So I will not mention one of them. I will just say that from my experience, or at least what I believe, is that the most successful ones are those that are not simply deliver pilot training courses or documents. It is the projects that are creating communities of practice, more generally lasting ecosystems. So if a project is aimed to create a lasting skill ecosystem, then I think that this is the most valuable and and the best practice, and we should follow this. And starting from this point, I would like to highlight three things. The first one is that these ecosystems, these skill ecosystems, have to be demand-driven. In our case, we have hundreds of cities that are developing technological systems, so we need experts being able to run these systems today and in the future. Of course, the best programs are designed to bring together cities, universities, industries, VET, SMEs, all the stakeholders. So are ecosystems that are not only addressed to one type of stakeholder. Secondly, I think that this was covered very well by Oscar. We need interdisciplinary competencies, or we can say hybrid competencies. So smart communities, smart cities are no longer requiring professionals that are just very good engineers. Of course, engineers and planners and procurement specialists will be always needed and in demand. However, the next generation of professionals have to combine digital technology, AI, sustainability, resilience, all these skills. So I think that this is the new normal. Third, we have to, I'm 100% sure of this, this has to be a continuous process. So it may start within a project, but it has to be continuously evolving because the technological change is happening every day, and these initiatives should go on at least for a number of years, and we should base on principles. I'm talking about skill development, modular learning, micro-credentials, work-based learning, all these modern VET principles. And I think the bigger lesson out of this is that we need a permanent, we can say permanent mechanism that will continuously identify these skill gaps, these emerging skills, and translate these skills to learning opportunities. And I think that this is what we're trying to do here today. So we're trying to develop a Pact for Skills partnership, a new one, dedicated or at least focusing to smart communities. And I think that this is not another project deliverable. It's not another smart project deliverable, but I think it's a key deliverable. It's a platform where all stakeholders will come together, and if at the end of the project will remain something, this will be the legacy of Smart project, so this community. Because I'm always saying that it's not about deploying new technology, new systems, but it's about developing communities, developing people, making them happier, feeling more comfortable in their cities and their communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Panos. Yes, I agree. Today it's a milestone for the project, and it's something that will determine the success of the project, not now but in the future. Like not only now but in the future, and that's what makes the difference in the impact that initiatives like that can have. But I would like to also hear the opinion of Ilpo. Especially related to all what has been said so far about the competencies that are needed. So, in your role as city administrator, but also you're also hybrid, let's say, yourself, because you also work in academia. What do you think are the skills that are missing? Do you agree with what has been found so far and with what Oscar has highlighted?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm a director of administration in a public utility of City of Helsinki, and also an associate professor. So feel free to link me in LinkedIn, where you can find my profile. So I would begin to answer to your question by saying that the digital and green transitions are often described as technological transitions, but from the perspective of local government, or my point of view, are that they are equally and perhaps even more fundamentally learning transitions and institutional transitions. Of course, cities need advanced technical skills. We need people who understand data, who have data literacy, AI, digital infrastructure, green energy, circular economy, and so on. But finally, technology alone does not make city smart. A city becomes smart only when technology is connected to public value, democratic processes, inclusion, and everyday lives of its residents. So that's why I'm going to point out some key capacities in few layers. The first layer is broad digital and AI literacy across the entire organization, meaning that digitalization cannot remain the responsibility of a small group of specialists. So that does not mean that everyone should become a data scientist, but everyone needs to understand what digital technologies and AI mean in their own work, what they can enable, what risks they create, and where human judgment remains indispensable. The second layer from my point of view is governance capability. In public sector, the question is never only about technology alone. The question is whether it works lawfully, and as we have heard today, ethically, transparently, and fairly, and also is secure to use. We do not need only data models and data flows, but also data governance and data protection, as we have heard today. So I see that digitalization must strengthen trust, not weaken it. Public administration must be able to show that technological development serves the common good and not only the efficiency or competitiveness. The third layer is implementation capability. Many cities, as we have heard, as Panos said, there are many good pilots. There are more difficult questions to solve, but the main question is whether we can scale, maintain, and institutionalize what we learn. Each solution also creates new competence requirements like data interpretation, procurement, safety, accountability, maintenance, and so on. Who owns the data, and so on. The fourth layer is continuous, lifelong, and life-wide learning, as we have heard today and referred to. By life-wide learning, I mean that learning does not take place only in formal education or professional settings. It happens at work, of course, in communities, in everyday urban life. And this is very essential for smart communities. The smart city is not only digital infrastructure, it's also a knowledge-based and learning community. I would say that this is also where Finland's education and competence-based learning traditions are highly relevant to SMARCO. We need modular learning, micro-credentials, as we have heard, and stackable learning pathways that allow professionals to update their skills throughout their careers. At the same time, we must recognize that citizens also need new capabilities. And smart city cannot be smart if we have no programs to develop citizen skills. So my answer is that the most critical capacity is not only one single skill. It is the ability to combine technological understanding, governance, implementation discipline, lifelong learning, and also social inclusion.
Thank you, Ilpo. It's interesting to hear the opinion of local administrators, as we did also recently last year in May. We Alessandra and I went to Nordic Edge Expo, presenting our strategy, and I think some of the findings were also similar to what Ilpo is now bringing up. So I would now give the floor to Alessandra to ask her a bit on how this first roundtable went, and so what were the main reactions that we received.
Yes. Thank you, Katarina, and thanks also to your team for the invitation. Yes, it was very special to be there together with the location and the team that were hosting us. It was very interesting because we went there with the idea to validate somehow some of the first finding of the strategy, but then stakeholders actually helped us to improve it somehow. And I think one of the most encouraging outcomes of that workshop was that the stakeholders did not question the overall direction of the strategy, but on the contrary, they strongly confirmed its main assumption that the future of smart community depends on people as much as on technology. There was a broad agreement. I remember that we were mainly talking with the people working in municipalities, working for communities, with the companies, NGOs, coming from university too. And there was a broad agreement in the room that digital skills like AI, cybersecurity, data governance, and many of the other technical skills that we mentioned today already remain essential. However, participants repeatedly reminded us that these skills alone are not enough. And the real challenge is enabling people and organizations to work across disciplines, sectors, and governor levels. In fact, one of the strongest messages from Stavanger pilot workshop was the importance of what we could call human-centered transformation. Stakeholders emphasized leadership, collaboration, communications, and system thinking as equally important competencies. Another area that was mentioned with the remarkable consensus concerned governance, as many participants pointed out that smart communities initiatives often fail not because of the lack of ideas or technologies in place, but because of the lack of continuity. Projects come and go, funding ends, and many of the people there sitting and working at public level were actually telling us that they saw several projects coming and going in these decades. But in this case, the valuable experience of this project is also lost. So this reinforces also the need for long-term strategies, new leadership models, and also continuing learning loops that can allow organizations to evolve over time. Then some of the other topics that were mentioned, and then I will close. But a couple of topics that were mentioned and that were also inspiring, I think, us, have to do with the role. And actually, this comes from the encouragement of some stakeholders participating of moving beyond an urban-centric vision, as they were recognizing the important role of rural communities too, probably because of their geographical and administration overview and settings, but they encouraged us also to consider the role and the perspective of rural communities, the role that they can play in Europe's smart transition too. And then another important contribution was the emphasis on measuring the collective impact. Many participants suggested us that the success should not be measured only by the number of the project delivered, the people trained, and so on, but also by the societal value created through collaboration between public authorities, business, academia, and citizens. So if I can close and just to summarize very in short, probably one of the most repeated recommendation coming from that experience was very simple but very powerful, and it was invest in people, not only in projects. And and skills development was really seen in that way as a long-term investment requiring a lifelong learning and support from several stakeholders. So I will close in that way.
Thank you, Alessandra. I think it also makes sense because the rural areas still have not been touched, but I think we can also go a bit deeper in that. But before, I would like to also hear from Owen. So I think we have mentioned so far many events and initiatives that took place recently, and of course all of them have collaboration as its center. And I had the pleasure last week, a few weeks ago now, 10 days ago more or less, to join the Dargan Forum that brought together really a wide range of stakeholders, policymakers, education providers, industry, but also the local communities, especially in Ireland. Then also now we talked about technology adoption. All of these topics have also come out in the Dargan Forum. So I wanted to ask you just what are the main messages also related to skills that came out in the Dargan Forum?
Thanks, Katerina, for that very kind introduction and for putting together today's event. I might pick up where the previous speaker finished on talking about rural, because one of the key things that came out of the Dargan Forum was that we need new entities. The challenges we're now facing in our cities and in our businesses are so different to the challenges of 5, 10, 15 years ago. We need completely new entities, and the state response is in general to give existing entities new responsibilities for skills, etc. And unfortunately, they're using approaches that worked 15 years ago and are not fit for purpose in an AI and an economy where robots are going around doing jobs. So that was one of the first key things that came out of the Dargan Forum. And Alessandra touched a bit on that. Most important theme that came out as well was that our largest economic actor by sheer volume in the EU The micro businesses, so less than 10 people or less than 2 million turnover, they're almost invisible from a policy perspective. There's a complete absence of micro data. Like the European Commission introduced the legal definition of micro business in January 2005. However, there has been little or no movement on measuring the experiences of those micro businesses. So, many state actors are operating with no data and no, beyond anecdotes. All politicians, love to talk about the local bakery and the local plumber and the local this, that, and the other, but they have no data on what it's like to be a micro business. What are the skills challenges at scale for micro businesses? And then the final thing that came out of the Dargan Forum was that, we, particularly in Ireland as a state, we're very focused on the inputs. So every minister, every head of department can say, we put 2 billion into this, 20,000 small businesses got that. But that doesn't really matter. You could pour a load of water into a bucket, but if the plant is over there, it doesn't matter that the plant didn't get water from that bucket. So we as an economy tend to focus, we're putting all billions in, we're having all these meetings, we're having all these discussions, we have all these government departments and initiatives, but they're not looking at the outcomes. And that again picks up on something Alessandra touched on about the breaking up of continuity. So when a local government initiative like the one I've been doing in my hometown here for 10 years, it's year-to-year funding, so it's very hard to plan. There's no focus on outcomes. A small business or a collective can go to the government and say, we're producing great results here, we need a little bit of support. And the government will say, we've no programs for that at the moment. No, we're putting all the billions into this. So there are the three things. I suppose if I was to summarize it, Katerina, we really need culture change at scale across how we measure the experience of micro businesses, how they absorb skills, and then a move away from inputs. Here's all these big numbers we're pouring into these things, moving more to outcomes, what actually works, and then filtering that back into where the money goes.
Thank you, Owen. I think that also gives me a possibility to go to a second question. I think since we don't have a lot of time, I can maybe ask all of you a general question that I think it's a bit of a fil rouge of our second round of questions. So you were saying, Owen, about the impact. So I think good questions could be for me now, what you think is an effective, how does an effective collaboration look like? So you can mention a best practice, or you can mention also a good example. And I think if you can focus on the rural perspective, that would also be great. So maybe I would give the floor to Oscar first, and then I would repeat the scheme, but just in a bit of a shorter version of the first round, so we're sure we don't take too much time. Oscar.
Let me see if I got your question correctly. How to collaborate with local governments. I think that this is, this collaboration could be relevant to build these skills systems and around local ecosystems. I mean, the collaboration between municipalities, vocational schools, universities, SMEs, chambers of commerce, etc. All that is necessary to build skill systems that respond to the local needs. And this is something that requires some continuous dialogue between employers and between employers to prevent persistent skills mismatches. This is something that is, I think, is necessary, and this is certainly true also for rural communities. This is that you were asking, and I think this is important because if you focus on the local communities, you conduct kind of like local diagnostics of the skills that are needed based on the local needs, will have a better impact rather than just trying to follow the global AI hubs, which is not necessary. I think the needs of a mid-sized city or rural community that is more focused on tourism, etc., they all have different needs. So trying to focus more on that is what I would point out as the essential part.
That's great, Oscar. I think also it's very interesting in the balance between demand and then what are actually the needs translated in the training courses. So this is something that I would ask Panos. So how do you integrate this? And this also has to do with the collaboration in the end. How do you integrate the foresight and in the training programs?
This is an important question, how to integrate all these findings. So, okay, in our project we produce very good reports that somebody can download and read and see what is missing, what is the gap, what is coming. But for me, the important thing out of all this is how we translate all these extra reports that we're producing to action. So at the end of our reports, we have actionable action items. So if somebody takes them, can do some actions. But in general, I think we need 5 things in order to make all those actionables. The first of all, I already mentioned it. We have to do these tasks continuously. So we need continuous skill intelligence because everything is changing very fast. Secondly, if you take traditional universities, from the time we learn about a new need till the time we deliver a new program, it takes ages, years. So we have to move faster. So both educational universities and vets have to provide courses, training content faster. And I think in our project we did it because we had the first round pilot with the urgent needs. Thirdly, we need to establish this community that involves all stakeholders, and we have to develop direct communication lines between the community and the policy stakeholders, with the policy actors. I don't know, municipality, association, governments, and all these things. And another important thing is that we have, this is what we're going to do in the next years in our project, we have to develop a certification schema, recognized, because this is very important for the people that want to develop a career towards this direction, to work with smart communities. So young people are investing their life and their knowledge, so they need to know that this is a job. This is a job that is well recognized, and certification helps a lot in this direction. Finally, and I will close with this, we have not done a lot of things in what I call skill readiness. So we have to develop and measure skill readiness as we do in other cases. We measure innovation or performance, we measure digital maturity, but we don't measure skill readiness in organization, in municipalities, and in similar organizations. What does it mean? That we have to make sure that are available training programs, that all employees participate in these lifelong learning programs, that all these programs, training programs, are certified, recognized, and all these things. So skills readiness is an important point, and I think that this is strategic. So, okay, I was closing with one sentence that our project it has this ambition, not simply to provide training courses, but to create an ecosystem, ecosystem that will have all the services together, and a community, of course, that will support this. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you, Panos. And I agree on the ecosystem and also on the importance of the certification framework that actually Panos and this team will lead. So that will be really an important step of the project. So I would turn to Ilpo just for a quick question. So as I asked before, so what do you think is the secret ingredient for a successful collaboration?
Thank you. From my point of view, collaboration becomes effective only when different actors are able to define problems together, have readiness to problem solving together, and combine their capabilities, share risks, make decisions, and carry the results into normal operations. And this is especially important in cities, because normally the problems we are nowadays discussing about do not follow organizational charts. For example, climate changes, adaptation, digitalization, data governance, AI, and so on and so forth, meaning that no single unit owns the whole problem, and single professional group has not the required knowledge. So from my experience, I would describe effective collaboration through some few conditions. The first condition is that collaboration must begin with a real urban need, not wish, but need, not with a technology push either. We should define what problem we are trying to solve for residents, businesses, employees, or the environment. The second condition is that the city must act as a platform, not as a passive one. Meaning that city creates conditions in which public administration, companies, universities, civil society, and residents can solve problems together. And also that needs some active governance, where there is defined needs, public values protected, and outcomes are that they are actually useful for the city as a whole. The third condition is ownership. That is something what I already referred in the earlier question. Who owns the solution afterwards? Who governs the data? Who trains the users? Many smart city initiatives fail, not because the pilot is weak, but because no one has solved the post-pilot questions. The fourth condition is participation, something what I already referred. Communities cannot be built only by experts. It must be inclusive, and participatory approaches must be promoted and emphasized. The fifth condition is a learning ecosystem, meaning that must be digital, sustainable, and learning oriented at the same time. In theoretical terms, this means moving from a simple triple helix model, meaning a model including city, university, and industry, towards quadruple and even quintuple helix thinking, which refer to models in which residents, civil society, and the environment must be part of the innovation system. And also smart communities require citizens' social capital and ecological sustainability. So if I summarize, effective collaboration in smart communities consists of shared problem definition, city as platform, governance, clear ownership, democratic participation, and learning ecosystem.
Thank you, Ilpo. I will go to Alessandra because I know she also has an answer on this, and she probably can share with us a best practice that we also have included in our skill strategy. So, Alessandra, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Caterina. Yeah, it's a pleasure to introduce this good practice. But before that, just a very short introduction on our role as Fondazione Piemonte Innova at regional level, but not only. Our role is precisely to connect different actors at local and regional level, meaning the city of Turin, first of all, universities, companies, leading also the ICT Innovation Hub at regional level, larger companies, stakeholders, and policymakers too. So every day we work with these actors to translate also the innovation priorities into concrete opportunities for learning and experimentation. And some years ago, thanks to an initiative from the Italian Ministry for Companies and Made in Italy, we had the pleasure to have here in Turin, actually the initiatives were 13 all over Italy, the House of Emerging Technologies, called CTE Next, from 2021 to 2025 officially. Then now we are already in a second phase of it. So CTE Next was much more than a technology hub. It was an innovation ecosystem where companies, startups, researchers, public authorities, and technology providers work together to collect needs, but also to then put in practice through experimentations, especially with emerging technologies such as AI, 5G, IoT, and data-driven solutions in the city, especially the city of Turin. So within this ecosystem, companies don't simply attend training courses in the field of smart cities, but they could participate actively in living labs, pilot projects, mentoring and acceleration programs, and collaborative innovation initiatives. And this creates a virtuous cycle. So companies strengthen their capabilities, public administration gain access to innovative solutions in a very rapid way. Researchers also validated the new approaches, and let's say the entire ecosystem becomes more resilient and competitive. And actually also this initiative then brought the Turin ecosystem to then apply to become the innovation capital, and it happened actually a couple of years ago for the city of Turin. So this was for sure for us an important experience where also the companies co-created the training path to follow, and very important that created also a lot of trust. Companies and all the actors within the ecosystem were more willing to invest their time, and still are, in developing new skills when they see that then there is a trusted network of opportunities, of experimentations, of listeners and services that can then make these opportunities tangible. So for this reason, I would say that, if we succeed also in connecting this local ecosystem with this broader European network, and we are part of it, probably also the companies will no longer be passive recipients of the innovation. And for sure, they are one element of the full receipt, but we know them very well, and we found that in that way, then the initiatives can really work also with a long-term perspective.
Thank you, Alessandra, and of course that's why this initiative was included in our strategy, and you explained what are the key factor of the success. I would maybe let Owen say a few words to close the day. So we've heard a lot about the competencies needed, about collaborations, and also about the role of SMEs in rural countries. So can we conclude with something like, what could we do? What could government do better? In a few words,
thank you. The government need to do more of what's happening here today, which is tangible dialogue. And again, I'm not criticizing any governments; they're all doing a very good job. But at the ground level where we're focused day to day, working with small businesses, I'd agree with what Ilpo is saying, that we need to move away from this focus on qualifications like the Irish SkillNet, a qualification agency. It's focused on the framework of qualifications, not on what the small microbusiness needs. They say, go and get a master's. Microbusiness says, we don't want a master's. Oh, well, then we have no funding for you. I think also we need to create different incentives for small businesses. The whole focus on cities, I live in a city, but I think cities can look after themselves. We need to look at towns around Europe, like they've loads of property, lots of it's vacant. We can create hubs in those, as I did in my hometown here, and that hub can provide on the ground access to the kind of skills that small businesses will need, and create those dialogues which Ilpo talked about. And then finally, I'd say something I've done here in my hometown, we need to move away from a culture of kind of learned helplessness. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And this kind of may only get worse as AI impacts more. And we have, what Alvin Toffler called future shock, where small and micro businesses just opt out. And they say, right, I give up. I'm not going to try and keep up with technology. We have to really challenge that at the grassroots level, as SMARCO is doing, because the digital divide will only get worse if we don't.
Thank you, Owen. Anyways, I think we are closing on a, let's say, positive note of encouragement. So thank you very much. And I thank also all the rest of the speakers for being here with us, and also my colleague Lina and Sonia from DG Ample, and all the attendants that were with us today, and also apologies for the delay. However, I think it was good to hear from everyone about their point of view. So I would recommend you once again to join our partnership, and to also download our skills strategy. So goodbye, everyone.